Sybil
Yeah.
Wilkes, and welcome to Sybil's Book Club. And my guest is an amazingly talented man, author, best-selling author, Derrick Barnes. And Derrick, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sybil, thanks for having me back. Good to
I
see
am
you.
glad. It's good to see you too. I know you're a busy man, and I wanted to grab a few minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and introducing this segment, I also want to tell people that my friends know, their children know, they're not very thrilled by it. But for the holidays, I always like to give books. I don't like to give toys. That's for the birthdays and what have
Yeah.
you. But books, I think, not very sexy, and for a lot of kids, not a lot of fun, but at some point or another, I'm hoping that they will, find themselves looking at their shelves and saying, well, what else? What have I got to lose? Let me pick up a book, and
That's
then
right.
hopefully they're off. And so, Derek
That's right.
has given us a wonderful library full of books that are specifically written for our young Black boys and girls. I tell the story that I first fell in love with the work of Derrick Barnes with Ruby and the Booker Boys. Just an
Way
amazing
back.
little. We go way back. We really do go way back. And
Yeah.
this is the latest book. It's called Like Lava in My Veins. It is the latest book. And also, you have another book out for the holiday season. Santa's Gotta Go, right, Derek?
Santa's gotta go. Yes. Black Santa. Yeah, yeah. But my wife calls him Zaddy Claus, man.
I love it. I
The
love it. I
sexy
love
Santa.
it.
Yeah.
He is a sexy Santa. That's right. So
Yeah.
tell me about Mr. Beacon. Beacon. Tell me about Bobby Beacon.
Yeah, so this is my 18th title, and I've always wanted to do a picture book hybrid graphic novel type comic book. I was able to do a graphic novel last year with uh, an amazing illustrator named Dawu
Yes.
Anyabwile. We did a book on the life of Dr. Tommy Smith,
Right.
the 1968 Olympic gold medalist for Victory Stand, which won a few awards. But this book, I was able to get the talent of probably the only Black illustrator that has worked for Marvel and worked for DC.
Wow.
Super talented brother named Sean Martin, bro. And this book is kind of centered. I kind of it has two themes really. Just being a Black father of four boys, I've had issues where I've had to go up to their school and straighten out a few teachers that probably shouldn't be teaching Black boys. And so that took me down a rabbit hole to find some research that Black boys and girls are 4 to 6 times more likely to be, suspended harsher than their white peers. They are more likely, to be suspended for a extended amount of time more than their white peers.
Mhm.
So I wanted to kind of touch on that issue, but I also want to give a shout out to all the amazing teachers across the country who do their due diligence and do their research in regards to the children that they're teaching. I feel like you can't really teach a child if you don't really know a child, if you don't really love
Mhm.
a child. So you need to know the family they come from, the culture that they come from. So in this book, Bobby Beacon is a 10-year-old boy who has the power of fire and light. And his parents send him to a school to help learn how to control his powers. But when he gets there, the teacher is mean. She constantly threatens to kick him out of class, send him to the principal's office. So his parents have him transferred to a new teacher's classroom who's based on a real teacher of mine that I really love, um,
Oh.
Mrs. Rogers. Her name is Mrs. Brooklyn. And Mrs. Brooklyn is patient. She's kind with Bobby, and she helps him to discover even more powers. And so, I always try to have a hidden message in all of my books and issues that really affect our children, the most.
You bring to mind, I was talking at the very beginning, our executive producer and my business partner, Yolanda Sarks White, is a yogi. She's our yoga instructor. And so with that comes breathing exercises, and we have fountains in the background, and all of the things that you kind of described as the safe place for the kids in this Brooklyn classroom, right?
no threat to her. That's what they were saying, that they were breaking into a car. There was no threat.
Y'all said she wasn't there.
Well, that meaning there, meaning in the car.
Oh, all right.
There was no threat.
Yeah.
Hearing something else.
Yeah, I got the idea for Mrs. Brooklyn using, meditation from an article I saw in 2018.
800.
Yeah, I heard another conversation too.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good now. So you said you got this idea when?
All right, that's better. I got this idea. I saw an article in 2018. It's a school in Philadelphia, and they use meditation and other means of, I guess, correction. I wouldn't say discipline, but there has to be other ways to correct our children, as opposed to, this whole prison to pipeline type of, discipline where we kick children out, suspend them for 2 weeks. Like I said, I have my own incidences where my son Silas, he's a senior in high school now, headed to Hampton, excellent student. He got into a little shoving match when he was in the 7th grade with another boy. There were no punches thrown. And instead of just diffusing the situation, they called me up to the school and we're going to suspend Silas for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Now, this is just one child. So just think about all of the children that get sent home for 2 weeks, no instruction, no parents at home. And so I just made it plain to this vice principal that Silas is going to stay home tomorrow, which was a Friday, but he's coming back to school on Monday. And you need to rearrange, and we're going to have a big meeting about how we rearrange the discipline structure in this school. There's no reason to have a child kicked out of school for 2 weeks. So I put my big black daddy hat on. I've had to do that a few times, to set these people straight. They really shouldn't be teaching our children, and it doesn't have a lot to do with race, because I've had a lot of black teachers. I've had a lot of poor black teachers, and I've had some amazing white teachers. But you have to have a vested interest in the community where you are teaching. You have to care about the families where these children come from, and not drive 2-3 hours, to get to work. You don't live in the community. You've never taught children that look like the children that you're teaching. So again, I just wanted to address that issue in a comic book format. So
well,
I think we did a pretty decent job.
And who is this geared for? What's the age range on the book? Like lava in my veins.
Well, that's the thing. So most of my books have been published by
as an elderly reader, I like it too. You know what I mean? And I say that in all fun. But as an adult, I love the story. I could identify with it and put people that I know into the places of Bobby and the other characters in the book.
Yeah. Well, so this is the issue that I always have, my editor at Penguin, because picture books are supposed to fit into the 1st through 3rd grade format, but I really don't stick to any formats. I'm just trying to make a great book that will allow me to travel to different places. So I do a lot of my picture books in middle school. I do some in high school in creative writing classes. And I'm just trying to make a great book and not really stick to any kind of age format, because picture books, I think, are a very lost art form. You have amazing artwork from some of the best illustrators in the whole world of art, and I think this is a child's first introduction to fine literature, as well. So I just try to stick to the formula of just trying to make a good book that's gonna stick around, for a long time.
Well, it is going to stick around. How about from your young fans? I know you've been on the road and going into schools and bookstores and what have you, and talking to the students. What's the reaction?
Well, I just got off of tour. My last date was Sunday at the Texas Book Festival. I was on the road for like 3 weeks, and I've done dozens of schools. I've done dozens of independent bookstore events. Shout out to all the amazing independent bookstore owners. I only use Black-owned, woman-owned, family-owned independent bookstores as book vendors. So because they do wonders, for their community. So I really appreciate them. But the The reception has been well. Kids love the book. I have 4 more books that we've written in this series. We're working on an animation deal where Bobby and his friends are going to just
Awesome.
handle, like, community issues.
Hmm.
For instance, the second book is about gentrification and just keeping that community authentic and
Okay.
keeping the family businesses intact. So
Sure.
I just try to tackle those community issues. Yeah.
How about your biggest critics? How about your boys? Are they enjoying the book? Even if they're, I mean, you talk about, one son in high school. I think you have two others who are in HBCUs.
Yeah, we are HBCU family. My wife and I met at Jackson State University, VI
Go,
Love.
go Tigers.
I have a senior at North Carolina. That's right. I have a
Mhm.
senior at North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. I have
Uh-huh.
a football player that just played in a CIAA championship game. He attends Fayetteville State. And my
Nice.
high school senior, it will be headed to Hampton next year. And we have a 12-year-old. So 12-year-old doesn't know quite where he's going, but he will be going to HBCU as well.
Okay.
No doubt.
He's got a whole range of schools to choose from, but it will
Yeah.
be
So, yeah,
HBCU.
yeah, but that's right. A, a whole range. But yeah, so the crazy thing about these boys, it's just like, so these boys are like any other teenagers. When my 2 eldest boys were in high school and middle school, it's like they were ashamed that their father was a children's book author. But
Hmm.
now that they're out of the house, they post about me on their social media all the time, which is very shocking. And I think a lot of it is they've had a chance to get out into the world, and they've had a chance to appreciate how hard I've worked to, you know, pay their tuition
Hmm.
and put
Hmm.
money in their bank accounts and just really grind, and, for my family, but also just on a larger scale. Again, I'm trying to create works that are going to outlive me and really move the needle and just allow Black children to see themselves in the most beautiful way possible. And I think they are starting to appreciate that now.
And so, speaking of which, what do you want kids to come away from after reading like Lava in My Veins? Because I know what I came away with as an adult reader, but the children that look like Bobby and others in this story, what do you want them to come away with?
Well, so Bobby was loosely based on my second eldest boy, Solo, and Solo is a kinesthetic learner, meaning he has to move around the classroom. He can't sit still,
Mm,
but he's
mm-hmm.
a very smart boy. And I want kids to understand that there's no one way to get the lesson. There's no one way to learn. There is nothing wrong with you if you want to get up out of your seat and move around. If you have a short attention span, the onus is on the adults that are disseminating the education. They have to change the way they teach.
Right.
Class sizes are getting larger, which makes this a little bit harder when you got classrooms of 30, sometimes 40 children. But uh, uh, I want children to know that there is nothing wrong with you, that you are brilliant, that you are beautiful, and all of our minds work differently. And there will be somebody that will come along to recognize your brilliance and realize that you have a different learning style and that you will be all right. Again, my boy struggled when he was in elementary school and high school. Now he's a sophomore at Fayetteville State. He made the honor roll last year, so I'm
Right.
extremely proud of him. And just keep moving forward and be proud of who you are and cherish all of your God-given abilities, and everything will work out in the end. So,
That is so awesome. That's a
which
great
is
message.
which is how the book ends. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Um, how can people get like lava in my veins? How can they get that? And we will talk about Santa's Gotta Go in a second.
Okay. Like Lava in My Veins is available. I always got to rep the independent bookstores
Right.
around the country, all the Black-owned bookstores, all your major book retailers, but always frequent your local independent
Please.
and children's bookstores wherever you are. Yes, please do. But they are available everywhere from Target to uh, Mahogany Books in Washington D.C. Shout out to my family at Mahogany Books. But
Nice.
every
Nice.
major book outlet. Wherever books are sold, you can pick up like lava. Hmm.
I love seeing you out on the road with kids and talking
And
about
here's
your
my
book.
here's my latest baby.
And so your latest baby,
Yes.
Santa's Gotta Go. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, Santa's Gotta Go came from a conversation I had with my son Silas. He's 17, but he was 10. He's the only one that feigned to believe in Santa Claus. So he thought it would be really, he thought, man, Santa, it would be cool. If Santa could come by our house and have dinner and play video games. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, what if Santa's a horrible house guest? And he's nasty, he doesn't clean up behind himself, he makes a lot of noise. So in this story, Santa's sleigh breaks down. He has a fuse that burns out, and it's
Uh-huh.
called a yip yip fuse. So what he has to do is order a new fuse on Amazon, and it won't come for like 3 days. So he asks his family, "Can I crash here for 3 days?" And of course, they are excited and they say yes. But they learn quickly that Santa is not your mom and pop's Santa Claus. He has, first of all, he has arm sleeve tats.
Right.
Santa's kind of svelte. He's kind of cut up, and he starts a garage band with like three other old black men in the neighborhood. Again, he eats everything in the refrigerator. He's on straight vacation mode, and it gets so bad that on the last day that he's there, I mean, he breaks everything. That the family goes and stays in a hotel on the
They
last day
leave
before the
Santa
fuse
behind.
comes, and when they come back, the house is clean. He leaves extra presents. He leaves a note, essentially saying, "Yeah, yeah." They say we're getting the hell out of here. You can have this house. But when they come back, there's a note on the fridge that says, "Thank you all. You are the epitome of Christmas spirit.
Mm.
Thank you all for letting me rest my old bones here. I really need this vacation. I'm going to tell all my friends about it." And so, the book is out, so I think I can tell the end. And the ending is probably one of my. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to say the ending. Y'all just got to pick
No,
up the
I
book.
was going to
The
ask
ending
you.
is one of my best endings of all.
Right, right. I want to save that for folks because it's precious
All right.
and so
All
people can
right.
find Santa's Got to Go as well as like Lava in My Veins. And how can we follow you, Derrick Barnes?
I'm most active on Instagram at
Yes, you
Arthur
are.
Derrick D Barnes. Yes, or you can come to my website. It's derrickdbarnes.com, and I usually respond to pretty much everything. And I'm working on like 3 books right now. I got like 2 more dates to finish up this tour, and then I'll be home for the holidays. But I still keep working because we got more beautiful Black books to write for our babies. So
And you have
I'm
more
on it.
sons to put through college. So you got to keep those boys
Got
in
that
those
right.
HBCUs. And
Hampton.
that's quite a proposition.
That's
Derek
right.
Barnes, you
That's
know how
right.
much I enjoy your work and what a big fan I am. Thank you so much for your
Yes.
time joining us here on Sybil's Book Club as we are trying to keep this the love of reading alive.
Thank you
Like
so much.
Lava in My Veins, it is one of his latest books, and as
Most
Derek has
definitely.
pointed out, Santa's got to go. Make wonderful Christmas gifts. I plan to make them, so kids get ready. And I am introducing a little young reader to Ruby this holiday
All right.
season as well,
All
Derek.
right.
So thank you so much for all your great work. Keep up the great work. And ladies and gentlemen, please support my friend Derek Barnes and all of his great work. Happy holidays to you and your family, to your bride, and to your boys. We appreciate you, darling.
Thank you, Sybil. Love you. Take care.
Take care now. And thank you all for
All right.
joining us here on Sybil's Book Club on It's Sybil. And don't forget, keep reading. Hello, and welcome to another edition of It's Sybil's Book Club. And I am so happy to have my friend here, Kim Nelson Ingram. Now, I'm going to hold this up, and most of you all see this normally. When you watch It's Sybil, you see it in my background. It's called You Can Be Anything, BEE, as in little honeybee. And so this was written by my friend, Kim Nelson Ingram. Kim, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So Kim wrote this delightful children's book, but it's not for children only. I want to say that over and over and over again. This is a message. You can be anything that is great from, any age, as you might imagine. So Kim, how did the idea of Bobby and You Can Be Anything come to you?
Well, I'll take you back to the day that I can remember it happening. So, well, first, let me go back a little bit further. I knew I wanted to write a children's book, and I knew I had these messages that I wanted to get out for my own kids and then for kids to come and adults too.
Hmm.
And so I had been thinking about what I wanted it to be, no pun intended. And Christmas morning, I guess this had to be 2021, or was it 2020? I think it was 2020. But in any case, Christmas morning, this is what I remember distinctly, even if I can't remember the year,
Okay.
is I was up sitting on my couch. My kids had not gotten up yet. My husband was still, you know, in bed as well. So I'm waiting for them to get up because, of course, I have, adult-ish kids now. So they're not getting up at the crack of the dawn. But I was up at the crack of dawn.
Being the kid that
And
you are.
exactly. I'm excited. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm excited. And so I said, well, let me just make some coffee and sit here on the couch and just, I don't even know how soon it happened, but I started thinking about the book and it started coming to me.
Hmm.
So I went and grabbed my laptop and I just started writing because I could literally hear the words. I could hear the rhyme. I could
Wow.
hear the things that I had been thinking about, like kind of all coming together. So I wrote it rather easily, and that sounds strange to me when I say it now. Little did I know what was to come.
Hmm. Right.
But the writing part was relatively easy because I had been thinking about the idea and I had been thinking about the message. It was just how do I put it all together? So
Sure.
that's how it happened.
So it came easily. Is that unusual for you when you have ideas and because you're a producer and
Hmm.
you're the creative type, you're a singer and all of this. So was this unusual that something creative came to you that easily?
Yeah, how I'll answer that is this way, is when it's like divinely inspired or
Hmm.
inspired, I say divinely inspired, it comes easily. Like if I'm sitting there like, I need to write something today. Let me think about what
Right.
it is, then it might be
Right.
a struggle. But there are certain times where when something comes to me, especially like a complete idea or the beginning, the makings of an idea, and it just starts to flow, that's how I also know, girl, you better do this
Okay.
because it's like an assignment. Like this is being given to you, so you better do it. So in times it does. Like I've written songs where, lyrics, I should say, not songs, because I do not compose, but and they've just come. And then
Mhm.
sometimes I'll sit down and be like, you know what, I want to write a song about XYZ thing, and it's a struggle. So I don't know, that sometimes it comes easily and sometimes it does not.
Right, right, right. It really does depend on probably the project and how closely tied you
Mhm.
are to it. And this seems to be something that, you like you said, talking about children's books, but seems to be something that as you were working through the process, then God just said, "Bam, there's your idea."
Yeah.
You've been
Like,
thinking
and I
about it,
think
you've been
that's
talking about it, period.
exactly. And I think that's part of it too as well, Sybil, is it's I had the impetus for the idea, but I just needed it to come together. And I tend to be able to do that. Like if I have pieces, if you give me like, Kim, I want you to make something out of this. I can usually do that, but yeah, you
Yeah.
said it perfectly.
So, you can be anything is I said is your story, and
Mhm.
how did well no I'll ask that later. Tell us about Bobby the bee, the young bee, and
Mhm.
her story.
Okay. So yes, Bobby is a little girl bumblebee. Um, my dad's name is Robert. He went by Bobby as a kid. So I kind of use that because my dad and my mom, but my parents were the first people that really told me or convinced me or that I could indeed be anything that I wanted to be if I was willing to put the work in, etc. So I decided to name her Bobby. I wanted little boys and girls to appreciate this message, but also big girls
Yeah. Well,
as well.
big girls really do appreciate it. Yes.
Well, thank you, because it's a message that we need to remember throughout our lifetime, and a
Hmm.
time oftentimes we forget. For the little kids, sometimes they're not encouraged, or they're like, oh, some people tell them, the naysayers, which you will encounter a few in the book, but no, you can't do that, or no one's ever done that before, or that's a crazy idea. Why would you
Or
think you should
you're
do
a
that? Or
girl, you can't do
or you're a
that.
girl, you can't do that. Exactly. So the whole premise of this book is to combat all of that nonsense. That if you have the inspired idea and you feel passionate about it and you're willing to do the work that comes with it, because there's always going to be some type of price that you have to pay, right? Investment or what have you, sweat equity or what have you. But you definitely can do it. Now, how big that curve is, it depends on the idea. But, I do think that it's a very important message and a very important lesson.
Yeah. And the queen bee.
Mhm.
Did you have a queen bee in your life? You talked about your parents. Did you have
Of
others?
course, you're one of my queen bees. Seriously,
I didn't
like
ask
there's
that
so
question for
many.
that answer.
Well, I know you didn't, but seriously. And I think I have a lot of sister friends that are queen bees, and then I have a lot of people that I look to as mentors that were
Mhm.
definitely queen bees. Those people that just get out there and get stuff done, and they don't listen to the naysayers. And sometimes the naysayer is your own,
Your own
thought.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, your own voice, your own thoughts. And sometimes that's the biggest problem. Sometimes I have that even now, where it's that imposter syndrome that everybody seems to be talking about lately, that I guess we all have at certain times. And you've got to like get over that, like talk to that inside voice and be like, listen,
Hmm.
be quiet, sit
Right.
down. I got this.
Hmm.
So definitely I had queen bees. I mean, throughout my family, my sisters, my line sisters. I mean, there's
And
so
that's
many
another thing,
people.
because you really understand about the sisterhood. You are a wonderful mentor, a wonderful member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
participate in all of the activities and everything. And now you are generationally a member of that
Yes.
organization.
Yes, that's exciting too.
So that kind of support that you have, that you come to know all your life, really carries over into the book. It really does. It's a theme that is so important that if we feel strongly about something, to have that support team, that system, that sisterhood, that brotherhood, to lift us up and to help us when the times are hard and we fall. They lift us up and keep pushing us forward.
100%. Yeah, you definitely have to have that group of my mom used to always call it front row, your front row people, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I don't share my goals and dreams with everyone, and I don't think you should,
Mhm.
but those people that are your front row people, I share with them, because you need them when the going gets tough
Mm.
to say, remember you said you wanted to do XYZ thing. What you doing?
Right.
Or don't worry about what, Mr. Dog or Mr. Bird said, like they were characters in the book. You know what I'm saying? Like you can do it. So, yes, absolutely. That support system is important. And you will find people that will support you, and you will find those that won't. And you need to listen to those that have always been your front row people.
And it's really important, I think, in whatever avenue you choose to travel, whatever your dream is, whether you want to be a physicist or a nuclear scientist or
Mhm.
an actress or a film director, but especially in the arts, it's really important, I think,
Mhm.
to have that real kind of support system. That
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I
Absolutely. And that's what I appreciate about you and so many in our sister circle is we definitely embody that, supporting each other, being each other's cheerleader, etc. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. So, as important as your wonderful words are, and you can be anything, and I don't know if you can see that with the shadow there, the light there, but you can be anything. The words are absolutely inspirational, but
Thank
the
you.
cartoon, I mean the
Illustrations.
illustrations. Thank you.
Yes.
How did you find this young woman to be the illustrator for You Can Be Anything?
Man, when I tell you everything with this book was in divine order, like literally. So I that was something that I was pondering. I was like, okay, you have because I have to add, when I got the words, I also saw the pictures. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's
In
because
your
I'm just a creative person, but yeah, I in my imagination, I knew that this is what I wanted to see. And this is, these are the pictures, and this is what I wanted, Bobby to look like. Like I saw her with her Afro puffs and the queen bee and all of that. But I can't draw. So it was like, what are we going to do with these illustrations? And this was before, Mid Journey and all the AI illustrations that are
Yeah.
happening right now. So I went to searching and I was talking to my daughter about it. and she mentioned a friend of hers who I knew as an actress, a fellow actress like my daughter is. And I'm sorry, I should be saying actor. She would correct me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A fellow actor. But she said, Maddie has illustrated children's books. And I was like, Madeline? Yes, absolutely. So she put us in contact with each other. And I don't know now of another person who could have done what she did. She literally, through us talking, because mind you, she was in Atlanta. I'm in
Mhm,
Dallas. It
mhm.
was during the pandemic time. So we weren't meeting up except for via Zoom. And she was able to capture the images that I had in my head and put them in this book on pages. I mean, it still
Wow.
blows my mind now how talented she is. And no, she's not illustrating any more books because I asked her recently. I was like,
Oh,
so I think I'm about ready to do this second children's book. You down? She was like, Miss Kim,
oh,
I'm not doing it anymore.
oh.
I've done, she's moving on to other things. I think she's in a Christmas movie or holiday movie that's getting ready to come out. So she's doing her thing and I have to respect that, even though I wish to goodness I could get her, to do it again because she
Well,
was
Miss
amazing.
Maddie, if I can implore upon you to create again and use your artistic genius
Ah,
for the next of Kim Nelson Ingram's books, I don't have any money on me right now. I've got paper and things, but it is such a great marriage. Your
thank
words
you.
and the beautiful pictures, the illustrations here in this book. Um, and I can only imagine because you're such a softie. Did you cry the first time you saw the illustrations?
I did. The first time I saw Bobby, and then when we finally got the queen right, like not only right, but like when I first like when it came together.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much for me to cry, but yeah, I did. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
because it was also challenging because I wanted obviously they're bumblebees, but I wanted them to look like people. Like
right.
I didn't want them to look just like insects. I wanted people
Sure.
to be able to, gather that
That
I
the
was trying to give
human
some
characteristics.
exactly the
Yeah.
human characteristics. And she was able to capture that. And so yeah, I cried when I saw little Bobby. And I have another girlfriend, my girlfriend Euro. After the book was published, I wish I had it up here, but she got me a stuffed
Oh, I
animal, a stuffed
remember
toy
that. Yeah.
that looks, I mean,
So much
Sybil.
like yeah, yeah,
I cried when I got that also.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, because it's like my little book baby. I mean, I have two kids, of course. Well, they're grown kids, grown-ish. Um, but this was like another little baby in a weird, sort of a
Yeah.
way. So it was amazing to see. Absolutely,
Now
absolutely. And I go ahead.
no, I was going to say, people. I don't because in addition to this interview, we interviewed my friend Derrick Barnes, who is also a children's book author. I don't want people to think that we're getting away from adult literature, but I think that this time of year is so important that we lend our voices to support our children's book authors. And I really wanted to do this, Kim, because I give books to kids, as you know, for Christmas. And I
Yes.
think this is a wonderful addition to make to any child in your life's a library. And so, how can people get a hold of it? How can people purchase? You can be anything.
Okay. Well, you can go to, well, it is available like on Amazon and Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
etc. Um, but if you want to get an autograph copy, or if you want to specifically a hardback, because I'm not sure if Amazon has the hardback or not. But anyway, my website
Mhm.
is youcanbeanything.com, and it's BEE. So you can be the bumblebee. You can be anything.com. And I have something special. It's a discount code. If you use the code it's Sybil now through the end of the month, because I believe this is a picture book month, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Yeah.
So now through the end of the month, that code works for 15% off if you purchase from You Can Be Anything. Now, if you want Amazon Prime, that's on you. But if you order through my website, I will do my best to sign it before I get those out. And so if you use that code, it's Sybil, 15% off.
I want you to tell, I want to tell people that this is not only for children, as we mentioned. It is, and I think the comparison is quite apt. And this deserves this kind of comparison to Dr. Seuss. Oh, the things you'll see
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
for
I
students
actually
that are
thought about
graduating.
that, when I was writing it or working on it, I should say. I was like, I wish this would be like, oh, the places you'll go when people graduate from high school, or it's usually a high school, but I've seen it also given it after college.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like that type of thing where it's inspirational, and literally kids from 1 to 92, I feel like would gather something from the message, because it's something that I often have to remind myself of. Um, especially as I become more mature in my career, etc. And the many times that I have reinvented myself.
Hmm.
Even now I'm kind of going through a season of reinvention, to remind myself that, yeah, you can do something different. Just because you started out wanting to do X or be on this path doesn't mean you can't pivot and take a detour in another direction, um, and do a lot of different things. And that's kind of what the queen bee was able to do as she was on her way to becoming queen. And so, absolutely, 100%, it is something that everyone can glean something from. Definitely.
And may I just say, whatever your next is, wherever you go, whatever path you choose or chooses you, at
Yeah.
heart, you will always be just an incredible human being with such a
Oh,
great soul and heart, and one who is probably one of the hardest working people I've ever met, and
thank you.
very, very dedicated to whatever it is she's doing. So I wish you so much success. This book
Thank
is for
you.
all of us. Please go to youcanbeanything.com and get it and get the autograph, because it's going to be worth something in a little while.
Ah,
And when you're reading this book to your children, take note of the message for yourselves as well.
100%.
Thank you so much, Kim. I wish you a happy holiday, and I
Thank
can't wait for
you.
the next book so that we can discuss it. But this is going back up on my desk right now, so
I
that you can
appreciate you
remind me
so
every
very
day.
much. I love you. Thank
You
you
know,
so much.
I love you, and my love to Bernard and the kids as well, or it's the
Thank you.
adultish
Yeah, the
children. You know.
adultish kids.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this issue episode of Sybil's Book Club. It's Sybil, and I hope that you will go out and support these fine young authors as well. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon. Happy holidays. Aloha.